Title: The Soil of Gold, A Tale of Greed and Redemption. From poverty to the dream of wealth in a small village called Gulpur lived a humble farmer named Ramzan. He was poor but kind-hearted, living with his wife Aisha and their 2 children. Hassan and Nayab. Life was hard. Ramzan worked in other people's fields, barely earning enough to survive. They lived in a small mud house, wore old clothes, and often went to bed hungry. Yet, there was always a faint spark of hope in his heart. One night, unable to sleep, Ramzan looked up at the sky and prayed, "Oh my Lord, is there no way out of this poverty? Will my hard work ever bear fruit?" Moved by a desire for change, Ramzan packed a few essentials and left the village quietly in search of a better future. For 3 days and nights, he traveled through forests, rivers, and hills until he reached a strange land where the soil sparkled like gold and the air felt different. There he met an old sage sitting under a tree. The sage said, "Only those with pure hearts and strong will can reach this land. What is it you seek?" Ramzan told him his story. The sage smiled and said, "I can give you something rare, golden soil. Anything this touches will turn into gold. But use it wisely, only once a day. If you get greedy, it will destroy you." Ramzan accepted the bottle of golden soil with trembling hands and promised never to misuse it. He returned to his village, where people mocked him at first, but when he turned an old pot into gold, everyone was astonished. Slowly, he sold a little gold each day, improved his house, clothed his children, and people began calling him Ramzan Sahib. But as his wealth grew, so did his pride and greed. Part 2. The rise of greed. No longer a simple farmer, Ramzan now wore fancy clothes, built a grand mansion, and walked with pride. His children stopped going to school and instead rode in carts with guards. His wife Aisha wore silk saris and gold jewelry. Ramzan started using the golden soil on bigger things: ox carts, fences, even parts of his land. He forgot the sage's warning. One day, he spread the soil on his entire field. The crops died. Birds flew away. His favorite ox ran wildly and died with golden eyes. Aisha warned him, "Ramzan, something is wrong. Let's go back to the sage." But Ramzan shouted, "I'm richer." Part 3. The Journey of Repentance and the Golden Prison. Part 3. The Journey of Repentance and the Golden Prison. Ramzan's world had fallen apart. The house he once considered his pride now felt like a golden grave. There were no sounds of his children laughing, no voice of his wife. The walls were golden, but silent. Everything had turned to gold, but life was nowhere to be found. Ramzan would sit for hours in a corner, staring at his fingers, now layered with a golden shine. The golden crust was slowly crawling from his hands to his shoulders. His body was turning into gold. Alive, yet imprisoned. One night, he ran screaming towards his old fields. He fell to the ground, raised his hands to the sky, and cried out, "Greater than, O Allah, I have sinned. Forgive me. Give me back the life where I had poverty but peace. Return the days when I was hungry, but there was love." Just then, a strong wind blew. Thunder rolled across the sky. And an old, trembling voice echoed, "Greater than, if a person truly repents, the path is never closed, but sacrifice must be made." Ramzan jolted in shock. It was the voice of the old wandering dervish, the Fakir Baba. The Trial of Sacrifice. The next morning, Ramzan left the village. He returned to the same mountain where he had first met Fakir Baba. There now stood an old tree, withered, yet rooted in strength. Beneath it lay a shining stone, engraved with these words, "Greater than, if you want everything back, then sacrifice what you love the most." Ramzan sat for hours, thinking, should I sacrifice my wealth, my lands, my mansion? But his heart whispered, "Greater than, no, you must sacrifice yourself." He rushed back to his mansion. Inside was a room where the last of the golden dust remained. where it had all started. Ramzan took the dust and gently applied it to his face. Moments passed, and his entire body turned into solid gold. A living, breathing golden statue. The next morning, when the villagers arrived at Ramzan's house the next morning, they were stunned. The house was now simple again. Made of clay, small and humble, children Hassan and Nayab were playing in the courtyard. Aisha was sweeping the floor. All the gold had vanished, but life had returned. Under a tree sat Ramzan, alive, but weak. As if he had awakened from a long slumber. His hands were no longer golden, but of flesh again. His face was wrinkled, but peace glowed in his eyes. Aisha ran to him. The children embraced him.
And he wept. Greater than, I lost everything, only to learn that the real treasure is the purity of the heart, and the truth of love. Ramzan's new life. Ramzan spent the rest of his life teaching poor village children, and serving the elders. He still earned a living, but found joy in sharing it. His doors remained open for everyone. Years later, when he passed away, the villagers engraved these words on his grave. Greater than, here lies the man who found gold, but chose humanity instead.
A new beginning. The children's choice years passed like quiet whispers. Through the fields of the village Ramzan had long been laid to rest. But his story lived on, told beside fires, in schoolyards, and in the hearts of his children, Hassan and Nayab. Now grown, Hassan was a schoolteacher like his father, calm, wise, and kind. Nayab had become a healer, learning the art of herbs and care from the village elders. Though they had little, they never felt poor. Their home echoed with laughter, books, and love. But one day, something unexpected happened.
While digging near the old banyan tree, Hassan's shovel struck something hard. He cleared the soil, and found a small golden box.
Inside the box was a note, written in the old, elegant handwriting of their father. Greater than, gold will come again, children, but now the choice is yours. Will you chase it, or choose the path I found at great cost? The siblings looked at each other, stunned. The test of legacy. That night, Nayab sat near a lantern, holding the note in her hand. Do you think it's real? She asked. Hassan nodded slowly. If it is, then it's a test, just like father faced. Nayab's eyes filled with tears. But we're not like him. What if we make the same mistake? Hassan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we must walk together. That's what he taught us, to never walk alone in darkness. They buried the box back under the tree. And instead of gold, they planted seeds, a future replanted.
The tree that grew from that spot was unlike any other, its leaves bright green, its shade cool and comforting. People said it had healing powers. Children studied beneath it. Old folks rested in its peace. Hassan and Nayab turned their father's humble home into a community school and clinic. They never unlocked the box again. Because they understood. Greater than the true inheritance wasn't gold. It was the wisdom of a man who chose love over greed, and people over pride.
Dreams and the shock of reality shaped Chili's foolishness knew no bounds. One sunny afternoon, he sat under a tree, eyes closed, gazing toward the sky with a dreamy expression. Some children nearby asked him, Sheikh Chili, what are you thinking about now? He took a deep breath and replied with pride, greater than, I'm planning where to build my royal palace when I become king. Maybe on top of a mountain, where I can watch over the entire world. The children laughed. Are you dreaming about becoming a king now? Sheikh Chili raised his chin confidently and said, greater than, a true king is the one who dares to dream, and my dream is to wear a golden crown and rule like no one ever has. Just then, a farmer passing by overheard him. He stopped and said, Sheikh Chili, there's no harm in dreaming. But at least clean your head first. A chicken has just pooped on it. Everyone burst into laughter, and Sheikh Chili, embarrassed, wiped his head quickly. But a moment later, he smiled and said proudly, greater than, well, at least the chicken chose my head for the crown. That means royalty isn't far now, the throne that fell flat. That night, Sheikh Chilli couldn't sleep. He gathered some old bricks, empty baskets, and a broken stool, and began building what he called his royal throne in his backyard. By morning, the villagers found him sitting on top of this strange, wobbly pile, wearing a paper crown and holding a stick like a royal scepter. Presenting King Sheikh Chilli, he announced with a grand voice, "Anyone who needs justice, bring your cases here." A man jokingly approached and said, "O wise king, my goat ran away. What is your royal judgment?" Sheikh Chilli tapped his stick 3 times and said, "Greater than, you shall receive 10 goats in return, because in my kingdom, no one loses." As people laughed and clapped, suddenly, crash, the entire throne collapsed, and Sheikh Chilli fell flat in the mud. Everyone burst into louder laughter, while Sheikh Chilli sat there dazed, his paper crown half torn. Still, he stood up, wiped his face, and said with a grin, "Greater than, every king falls once, but a real one gets back up. If you'd like, I can continue to paragraph 7, where Sheikh Chilli tries to conquer the village with even more ridiculous plans, each more hilarious than the last. Would you like to continue?" Writing hand open mouth smile.